Everybody smiles in the same language. A smile, let your light come shining through.
Welcome to the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow podcast. I'm Sandra M., coming to you from Santa Fe, New Mexico, the land of enchantment. I interview people from all parts of the world about what happiness means to them. What are they in love with? In each episode, we'll give you a key to happiness to include in your life. And of course, we'll play a happy tune from my live Celebrate Happiness Roadshow.
A smile doesn't cost you anything.
Welcome to the second season of the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow podcast. And don't forget to catch up on any episodes from season 1 you might have missed. Today we're talking with Paul Gillmore, manager at Artful Tea, a specialty loose leaf tea store residing for 17 years in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Paul's passion for cooking started as a small child, which led to over 20 years working in fine dining restaurants. In his early 20s, while working alongside Japanese chefs, Paul was introduced to green tea and has been following his twin passions for tea and cooking ever since. Paul's interest in culinary and anthropological history led to traveling extensively in Latin America. Paul and his wife Jennifer were married in the Galapagos Islands at Tortuga Bay and have traveled together in Ecuador, Peru, Brazil, Costa Rica, Panama, Oaxaca, and the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. In each of these locations, Paul has sought out culinary experiences to further his connection to his culinary heritage and to broaden his understanding of pre-Hispanic cultures in the Americas. Furthermore, Jennifer has been recognized by Condé Nast Travel Magazine as one of the world's foremost experts in Latin American travel, with a special focus on the Galapagos Islands and Peru. Welcome, Paul. I'm just so excited to talk to you about happiness and what it means in your life. I mean, what are you passionate about? What are you in love with?
Well, hello, Sandra. I appreciate you having me, and I'm looking forward to our conversation. So should I just go ahead and jump in and talk about what makes me happy?
Tell me what you're happy. Yes, for sure.
Great. Well, Sandra, I've been really blessed in life. I have a great relationship with my wife. I have a beautiful home in one of the best places on earth. I've been fortunate to travel all over Latin America and meet some really incredible people. So I find happiness just in kind of looking around and appreciating how fortunate I am.
Wow, yes, because they say that being grateful, which I think is the same thing as being fortunate, am I right?
Sure.
Okay, so being grateful actually is supposed, cell biologists have actually discovered and proven that being grateful, having kind and loving thoughts and making other people happy automatically creates an enzyme in our bodies that lengthens our telomeres. And the telomeres are the part of every one of our cells that actually keeps us energetic and young. It's amazing. So being grateful is really, and I've seen you in person when I come to the tea shop, right? And you are very youthful looking and very energetic.
Well, thank you very much, Sandra. That's really fascinating science.
Yes, it is. It is. So is that your secret? Is just always exploring in life? How about these travels? I mean, you've been to so many places.
Yes, I have always been interested in other cultures because of my culinary background. I have kind of a special connection to food history and cultural anthropology. And so I've been able to go to a lot of different places and just see really beautiful things and, take cooking lessons from great chefs and visit amazing markets and really just kind of get to see what's out there in the world. And I think when you see a lot of the world, you really get a sense for just how fortunate you are and how amazing a place the Earth really is.
Yes, so travel really does expand your worldview. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, absolutely. I think even, there's some I can't remember who said this, but there's this concept that in literature, the more that you read, the more novels you read, the more perspectives it gives you, because you get to see the world through all of these different people's eyes. And that really expands your own thinking and gives you kind of different nuance to the way that you look at the world. And traveling does a lot of the same thing for me. It really helps you to see what are other people like, what are their lives like, and what can you learn from them.
Could you share a little bit about happiness and well-beingness and joy as you see it in other cultures, especially in Latin America?
Well, one of the things that I think is really important, as I said, that just having appreciation is one of the things that makes you feel happy. And it's also important to be able to make the most of the situation that you're in and to be able to deal with kind of the difficult situations that you're presented with as you're going through your day-to-day life. And, when you travel in other places, you see places that are more, maybe they have more poverty, or there's more unrest and those sort of things. And you really get to see how people adapt to more difficult situations. And one of the things I love so much about Latin America is that Latin people are so peaceful and understanding and resilient and very welcoming of visitors. They really, by and large, have kind of a passion for sharing their culture and really want you to dig in and learn more about them and their traditional ways of life. And it's really just a powerful thing to see some of these kind of expressions of, artistic expressions and just the joy that people have and the kindness that they treat you with.
The kindness that they treat you with, right. That's so important. Kindness, love, I think that's a big part of happiness. If you have that inside of your culture and you're brought up to be kind to other people, do you find that a lot in Latin America, that's part of the way, a part of the culture, part of the way they relate within their own culture?
Yes, absolutely. Outside of the largest cities in South America and in Mexico, outside of the largest cities, there are fairly poor communities, but the people who are there are so just they have kind of a simpler life, and they're not as tied into some of the rat race and the technology and some of the things that we do. They still have these really deep connections to their cultural roots. And so it's really amazing to see how different indigenous cultures and different Latin cultures all around those areas, the way that they really express themselves and really are really tied to their families and to their roots in a way that maybe is a little bit lost in our culture. Right.
I totally agree. A friend of mine actually owns a bed and breakfast in Costa Rica, and she talks a lot about Costa Rica. Could you share some of your views? She thinks it's a very positive culture, and she lives both in Berkeley, California, which is, Berkeley, California is sort of the epitome of being in the United States, right? And a lot of diversity there, et cetera, right? And then she goes to Costa Rica, and she said, my goodness, it's just so different, and it's so peaceful, and she loves the music there and the people. So I'd love to know what you think. She said they don't have an army.
No, she's absolutely right. The people they live a fairly simple lifestyle in different parts of Costa Rica. Their foods are fairly simple. Their lifestyle is fairly slow paced, and they really just have a sense of pride for the place that they live and for their heritage. And besides that, Costa Rica just has the most incredible nature, the most incredible wildlife. And so I think it really gives people a sense of vitality and kind of a sense of connection to the earth, because wildlife is just everywhere. You're so connected to it in your day-to-day life.
What kind of wildlife do they have there?
Well, all monkeys everywhere you go. Every restaurant you go to has a monkey scurrying around trying to steal things off of people's tables. At least a lot of the places I've been. Well, all monkeys everywhere you go. Every restaurant you go to has a monkey scurrying around trying to steal things off of people's tables. At least a lot of the places I've been. Just all sorts of different rainforest type of life. You know, on one of the trips that I was, one of the parts of the country that we visited was kind of a wildlife preserve in a very rainforest heavy area, and we saw howler monkeys and spider monkeys, and went on a night walk with a naturalist who showed us different spiders and snakes that are nocturnal in their environments, and you know, for them that's just kind of a part of where they live and something that they see every day.
Join Sandra M. for her live performance of the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow, a toast to love and happiness in life, an uninhibited musical adventure guaranteed to awaken your happiness vibe. Celebrate with upbeat rhythms, love songs, and fun stories, some told by you in the audience. Sandra's musical guest and accompanist, Todd Lowry, sings his hopeful and happy originals. To book Sandra M. and the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow, email sandra@sandramcknight.com. Celebrate happiness with Sandra M.
And don't they have a lot of birds? Beautiful, beautiful birds?
Oh, definitely birds. Very, very colorful birds, and sloths are quite common.
Yeah.
Just a lot of really colorful plants and animals. So really just kind of a beautiful place.
So the environment just makes you feel happy. Just being in the environment gives you a sense of connection that is beautiful. I think beauty is very much connected to happiness. What's your thought on that?
Yes, I think that's absolutely true. I think that in the United States, you know, we certainly have wonderful nature and we have great wildlife, but we live in kind of compartmentalized cities where we're kind of separated from the wildlife in a lot of ways. And obviously we live in Santa Fe, and this is such a beautiful place, and you can certainly stop and appreciate the scenery and all of these things, but which definitely is something that contributes to your happiness. But a place like Costa Rica or Brazil is another place that really just has spectacular colors and just such a vibrant place, and that certainly affects you. That certainly makes you feel energized and happy.
I need to ask I want to course back to this concept of your two passions. We've been talking about cooking and we've been talking about your traveling, but I'd like to know, why are you passionate about tea? Well,
you know, when I first started working in restaurants when I was young, I actually had my first restaurant job when I was 16 years old. And through my early 20s, I worked kind of a combination of restaurant jobs and sometimes overnight hotel type of jobs, and worked just a lot of hours. And I used to drink a lot of coffee and a lot of Red Bull. And really, when I was in my early 20s, I think I was 24 years old, I started working at this amazing Japanese restaurant in Denver called Sushi Den, which is just a really high-end place, very accomplished chefs, and all of the chefs who worked there were these really very, very pure Japanese people who were very proud of their culture, and they would drink green tea every day. And I had an interest in tea before that, but when I started working with these chefs and seeing the different things they would bring every day, and they would bring me a sencha I had never tried before, and really kind of broadened my horizons. Before that, I had always been kind of drinking commodity teas from the grocery store. And that really just made me think, wow, this is such an interesting rabbit hole. And I realized very quickly, I started drinking it for the flavor, but I realized very quickly just how much better I felt and how much more energetic, and that I didn't feel the anxiety that I felt when I drank a lot of other sources of caffeine. Instead, I felt this kind of, you know, uplifted, kind of more peaceful feeling, which just made me kind of fall in love with tea. And I've just kind of, it's been kind of a part of my daily life ever since.
Well, that's how we met, because I am a great lover of Japanese, well, not Japanese, is it Japanese? It's green tea, jasmine green tea. Where does that come from?
Oh, yes. That is a Japanese tea, absolutely. Oh, and we have a Chinese jasmine is the one actually I think that you're drinking.
Okay, because I just love the flavor, but there's so many different types of green tea. And the reason I started on the green tea was, again, medicinal. I was told it's very good for your nervous system and for it's the best caffeine you can have. It's very good for your stomach, for your digestion. Is that true?
It's absolutely true. And, different, teas come from different varieties of tea, like white tea and green tea, oolongs, black teas. They come from the same plant, but the way they are processed has a huge impact on the flavor, but also on the health benefits. So green teas, especially Japanese green teas in Japan, they steam their teas. Basically, the tea leaves are harvested, and they steam them right after harvest to preserve the green color, but also to preserve the nutrients, all of the phytonutrients that the plant carries, and all of those kind of flavors. And so green teas tend to have a lot of the L-theanine and the different enzymes and antioxidants that are really good for us in general, just as a general kind of daily drinking type of tea. But there are other benefits to drinking, a pu'er tea, which is a fermented aged black tea, which is good for kidney support and liver support. So there are just a lot of different ways that you can go, and that's what's so fun about tea. There are so many different variations and so many little nuances, and it just makes tea kind of a fascinating rabbit hole.
Could you give me the name of the one for the kidney and liver support again? What is that called? You said that very quickly.
It's called pu'er. It's Pu'erh.
And that's a black tea?
It is a black tea. It is, as part of the processing, it's partially fermented, and then they usually age it for a couple of years. So it's different, where most teas, you try to drink them fresh, but the aging process actually tames the caffeine and helps to bring out some of these other compounds that are good for the organs in your body and that sort of thing. Wow.
You really are very, very knowledgeable about tea. I knew that when I walked in the store, but your store is absolutely stunningly beautiful. I just walk in there and I feel good. I can't tell you, I just feel good. And then, of course, you're there with your smile and chatting everybody up. And then you have so many other little things, like teapots, which since I fell in love with Alice in Wonderland as a child, and I love Lewis Carroll and so forth. And so I look at all your teapots, such a variety of them, and the cups and the spoons. It's just a beautiful store.
Well, thank you. It is a very happy place to spend your day, especially, we have our new location and we have everything kind of on one level in kind of a small space. And so it really, the smells from the tea when we're blending or when we're packaging, the way that it fills the whole room with this great aroma, it's just a very peaceful place to spend your day. Yes.
Well, I'd like to switch up now because I have always wanted to see those huge turtles. They're in the Galapagos Islands, are they not?
Yes, there are sea turtles all over the Galapagos. So the interesting thing about the Galapagos, I've been there twice, and I have a third trip planned in October. My wife has been there. My wife has been there more than a dozen times, and we were married there, in fact. Yes. So I'm very excited about that. But the interesting thing is that each island kind of has its own ecosystem, and that's true on land, but also in the water surrounding the islands. But sea turtles are kind of ubiquitous. They are just kind of all over the place. And there's one particular island called Santa Cruz Island, which has the most amazing tortoises, the giant tortoise, which are just really beautiful, beautiful animals.
I'm just so intrigued. I know it's expensive to go there, so it's a special trip. Could you just explain a little bit more about what it's like to be in the Galapagos Islands? Does it make you feel happy? I can only imagine that when I'd be there, I'd feel very peaceful, and you're surrounded by the ocean. I love water so much. Is it a peaceful water, or what is it like? Tell us.
It is generally very peaceful. There are other places, Fiji and things like that, where maybe the natural beauty is kind of more what you think of as traditional island type of beauty, where the Galapagos Islands can seem somewhat rustic and kind of, there's not a ton of vegetation on certain islands. So it's just kind of a very different feel, but it's a very humbling place because I'm sure you know the kind of how the background of the Galapagos and how Darwin was able to use that to figure out evolution. And because you see these different types of animals existing on the different islands, and they live in their own little ecosystems, and it really just puts you in your place a little bit as a person. It really makes you realize just how fragile everything is and how incredible the planet really is. And you know, depending on the time of year that you go and the different islands that you visit, the animals that you see are different, and the wildlife and the plant life is different. And so it's really you just get a sense of the power of nature and just how incredible everything really is, but also how fragile it is. And it gives you a really kind of a grounding, the kind of a sense of, you know, wanting to be a better person and want to be a better steward of the earth, and makes you kind of appreciate what you have in that regard.
Join Sandra M. for her live performance of the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow, a toast to love and happiness in life, an uninhibited musical adventure guaranteed to awaken your happiness vibe. Celebrate with upbeat rhythms, love songs, and fun stories, some told by you in the audience. Sandra's musical guest and accompanist, Todd Lowry, sings his hopeful and happy originals. To book Sandra M. and the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow, email sandra@sandramcknight.com. Celebrate happiness with Sandra M.
The concept of the power of everything and the fragility of everything, that's an interesting concept. And you're saying that somehow on an intuitive level, you feel that when you're in the Galapagos Islands, whereas if you're in Fiji, it's just very beautiful, but you don't get the sense of the power and the fragility. Do you think of them as being opposites, or are they two concepts that sort of work together?
Well, you know, I've never been to Fiji, so I don't want to say that it doesn't have the same thing, but I just think that, especially for Americans, when you think of a vacation spot, an island place, you're going there for the sandy beaches and kind of the resort treatment and the all-inclusives and the beautiful sunshine and that sort of thing. Where in Galapagos, you're kind of interjected into this kind of dance of nature that is just really, it's beyond your control, and it's so delicate and fascinating to watch, just the different types of animals. And so there is a real power in it. You can see sharks, you can see all these different whales, all these different kinds of very powerful and kind of mysterious animals, but you can also go snorkeling with sea lions and sea turtles, and they're just kind of everywhere around you, and it just feels it's magical. It feels very delicate, but it also has this kind of majesty about it that's really just kind of breathtaking.
You are very good at this. I am ready to go to the Galapagos Islands. I mean, really, and your wife, she does all these tours, right?
If you think that I'm good at it, you should talk to Jennifer. She is she has been there a number of times, and she really just has a very personal connection to it. It really is her happy place. And one of the things that really, when sometimes, you know, she works from home, and so when on my day off, I can overhear her phone calls with her clients and people who are calling to ask about Galapagos, and the way that she lights up when she talks about it, the way that she just has this kind of this incredible glow. You can see this you know, positivity come out of her when she talks about Galapagos. It's really intoxicating.
So this concept of, you just mentioned, is Jennifer's happy place. And a lot of people talk about, this is my happy place. And I often wonder why every moment of your day isn't basically a happy place. In other words, I wake up in the morning and I think to myself, I'm going to make it a beautiful day.
Well, that's certainly a healthy perspective. I don't think there's anything wrong with thinking that every place is a happy place, but I guess I would say, in reference in particular to Jennifer, that, you know, the memories that she has and experiences that she's had there, the beautiful places she's visited, even on a bad day or a stressful work day, being able to have those kind of things that you can go back to and think about this really amazing time that you had in this other place or this great experience, I think can really help you to kind of center yourself and kind of separate yourself from the hullabaloo that you're dealing with.
So basically you're saying, and here's one of the questions I like to ask people, is happiness a choice, or can happiness be a way of living?
Well, I think that's definitely true. I think that I think a lot of people think of happiness as an emotion or kind of a state of being, but in my experience, it's kind of a practice. It's something that is a part of, you need to be kind of involved with it. You need to be, it's like a garden. You need to weed it and you need to tend the garden and make the flowers grow. You really need to be kind of involved in it. It's not something as simple to me as just I'm happy or I'm not happy. It's more just like I'm choosing to be happy and to live a happy kind of existence.
Right. So I love what you're saying. It's just so wonderful. It's like a garden where you need to tend it, right? So you can create a happiness garden or a happiness life, right? What are some, if you don't mind sharing, what are some of the things that you actually do that you might want to share with our audience as you tend your happiness life? Like I said, I wake up and I say, I'm going to make it a beautiful day. And of course, I've mentioned this before, I smile. As soon as I open my eyes, I just smile. Why? Because the smile just sort of makes me think, it just puts me in a place rather than waking up and going, oh God, I have this to do and I have that to do and that kind of thing. Okay, so what do you do?
Well, another way that tea is so important in my life, part of my morning routine is to make myself a cup of tea, and kind of the intentionality of that and the setting aside my anxieties or whatever else I'm feeling when I wake up and just giving myself, this is the moment that I'm going to enjoy this cup of tea. I'm just going to enjoy these flavors and I'm going to be kind of present in this moment. And that is a way that helps me to kind of get my day started. Then I guess I would say, I mean, obviously I have talked about my other love being cooking. And for me, that every day, my cooking dinner, I cook almost everything we eat from scratch. And having that kind of moment when we get home from work or when I get home from work and to take the time to, really think about what I'm going to make and how I'm going to do this. And there's this whole process and it's kind of like a living, breathing meditation for me that really just helps me to kind of, appreciate where I am and to create these experiences for myself and for my family that are interesting and fun, but also can be comforting. And, I'm very connected to this idea of kind of, touching people through food or through tea and just providing those little moments of escape or those moments of appreciation that really make it easier to kind of stay present in your happiness.
Well, absolutely beautiful. Touching people through food and through tea and giving them comfort and helping them to stay present in the moment. Absolutely stunningly beautiful idea. So how often, like throughout the day, are you able to do that? I know every time I walk into the tea shop and I see you, I go, hello, and you come out from the back. And you always are very present. I'm wondering, how do you maintain that?
In my background, I've worked a lot in service positions. Besides just working in kitchens, I've worked in as a server in restaurants, and I've worked in hospitality management. And so I learned kind of at a young age how to connect with people. And I've realized, too, that you really, if you're present with the people that you're dealing with and you're receptive to what they're looking for or what they need, and you're cognizant of their emotions or their feelings, it not only makes your service better, but it also makes the interaction more pleasant for you and makes it kind of, less of a chore and kind of more of like getting to build these personal relationships. And part of selling tea for me is that is so exciting is being able to, everyone's path with tea is different. A lot of times you have new people who who are just trying tea out and they're trying to see what they really enjoy. And it's really a great feeling to be able to kind of connect with someone on a personal level and get to know them a little bit and figure out who they are and figure out what is the thing that's going to make them happy. What's the tea that's going to bring them, comfort when they need it, or the thing that's going to give them the energizing quality they're looking for in the morning, that sort of thing. So it's just kind of a fun little dance of, building these small relationships with people.
Paul, we've come to the end of our conversation, and I don't know what else to ask you because you just articulate yourself so beautifully. But I thought maybe you might have a few thoughts that you want to end with.
Well, thank you, Sandra. I've really enjoyed our conversation. I'm really, I think you're doing some wonderful things, and I love that you're dedicated to this idea of happiness and also trying to spread happiness. And I guess I would just say that, I feel like a lot of people don't have the baseline of comfort and security that a lot of us do have. And so I do feel like it's important for all of us to recognize that and to be able to lift people up around us in order to help them find happiness. And I think that's an important way that we can find happiness for ourselves. And I think you're really doing that with your Celebrate Happiness Roadshow, your performances, and this podcast. So I really appreciate that you thought of me and let me be a part of it.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Well, thank you, Sandra. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I look forward to your next visit to my tea shop.
Key to happiness number 7. Breathe deeply. You're tense, your shoulders are tight, and you feel as though you just might lose it. We all know that feeling.
Instinct may tell you to take a long, deep breath to calm yourself down. When you feel stressed, work through these steps. Close your eyes. Try to envision a happy memory or a beautiful place.
Take a slow, deep breath in through your nose on a count of 4. Slowly breathe out through your mouth or your nose on a count of 4. And repeat this process several times until you start to feel yourself calm down.
Newsflash, please sign up for your copy of our Keys to Happiness at sandramcknight.com. Thank you for tuning in to Season 2 of the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow podcast. And if you've enjoyed the conversation, please help spread the word by sharing with your friends and family. Before we go, I'd like to thank today's guest, Paul Gillmore, for sharing his happiness story. And to share your happiness story on the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow podcast, send an email to Sandra@sandramcknight.com.
Turn your smile on, you can't go wrong. You'll find that love is all around.